believe we have a quorum because I see 4 of our members. Is Mr. Wells, everyone except Mr. Wells is here. Do you have Wells patched in yet? No. Okay, then we'll go forward without it. The first item is approval of the meeting minutes from September 11th. Is there comments or a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Second. I'll second it. All those in favor, do we do a roll call, right?
You need to do a roll call, yeah. For the City of Little Mesa.
Aye. Bill Baber, aye.
Thank you. For the City of El Cajon, Mayor Wells. I'm going to mark him absent. Paul Dosart.
Votes yes.
Thank you. Stuart Halpern.
Halpern, yes.
Thank you. And Bob Monson.
Monson, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And that passes unanimously.
Yes, passes.
Oh, I apologize. Passes with 1 absent.
Got it. Do we have any public comments on any non-agenda? Do we have any non-agenda public comments?
No, Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
Do we have any, for the record, do we have any public comments on any agenda items?
No, we do not.
Okay. So now we're at the Executive Director's Report. Go ahead, San.
Do we have the members' comments before or after the director?
Is it about something that's on the agenda or something that's not on the agenda?
Not agenda.
Okay, you could do a member comment of something that's not on the agenda now.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Back in September, I requested in writing that this committee address 3 things that didn't make it to today's agenda. First, discussion possible action relating to the process by which the committee reviews OIPA audit reports. Secondly, discussion possible action on measures that need to be taken to ensure the independence of the OIPA and OIPA work product. I believe these 2 items are time of the essence items since they impact the ongoing work of the OIPA. It's my understanding another public member made a similar request in writing. Third, he also requests that an informational update on the status of the investigation of the IPA claim of interference be provided to us. And I understand that while managing that investigation may not be the jurisdiction, quote unquote, of this committee, to the extent the IPA is a direct report to this committee, I believe we have a governance responsibility to ensure such investigation is taking place in an appropriate and expeditious manner.
Yeah.
Accordingly, I'd like a commitment that these be agendized for our next meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Stuart, in working out the agenda with staff, all of those things will be done in the next 2 meetings. I can't promise you it'll all be done in November, but we did discuss docking them. And regarding the thing that's whether or not it's on our authority, I asked legal to give me opinion. I don't think I've heard it back yet, but if you have something you want to agendize, Stuart, just call me and I'll talk to you about it. We'll figure out a way to do it. We'll get everything in, but we can't guarantee we can get everything in on every meeting because of, the traffic we have to manage. So, okay, it'll get handled, but it won't. I can't guarantee you when it'll get handled. But I would say everything you sent in that email to me will either get handled at the next meeting or the meeting afterwards. Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I note the appearance of Vice Chair Wells?
Oh, Bill, say something if you're there.
Hello, everybody. I am here.
All right, we have a complete quorum. We have everybody. Okay, Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Chair. Committee members, good afternoon to all of you. Good to see you. I will make it very quick because just to give you enough time to finish the meeting early. On the audit report, just give you an update. As you know, the board directed me and my staff to prepare an action plan. I'm happy to report to you that we have a draft audit action plan. Staff worked in collaboration with the Office of Independent Auditor on the draft plan. I want to thank Mary Kay, Michelle, and Lloyd for collaborating with our staff. As the chair indicated, the next audit committee meeting will be November 13th. That's when we will take this audit action plan to this committee on November 13th. And from there, it goes to the board. Couple of items that you probably heard about. There's something called Lilac Ranch, where we're trying to preserve 9,000 to 902 acres as a mitigation for the 76 improvement that Caltrans does. There were a significant public outreach. We held a couple of public meetings, significant board discussion today. It's fair to say that out of today's discussion, pretty much there is more confusion than answers to the question where we go. I try very, very hard to follow board direction, but sometimes it's hard to know where they're going. But the staff will have a recommendation. We'll take it to the board on the 20th. If the board doesn't like it, they can change direction then. As you recall, there were a regional housing need assessment lawsuit against Sandag by 4 cities. I did go to the executive committee. I did request that they make funds available from contingency funds, and they said no. And the vote was 3-3. But at the time, the lawsuit wasn't filed. After the lawsuit was filed, I used my executive authority to get money from the board administrative budget to defend the agency. I just want you to know today that there were few unhappy board members with my action, but I exercise my authority and I'll do it again in a heartbeat because the agency need to be defending, and that was a board action that I had to defend. On the regional transportation plan, I want you to know that I couldn't be prouder of the team that continuing to outreach the 5 big moves locally, but like they say, we're becoming famous nationwide and statewide. So we're getting requests from many sister agencies around the nation. As a matter of fact, on November 4th, myself and my team will be presenting to California Air Resources Board, California Transportation Commission, and California Department of Housing and Community Development. I think our staff did an amazing job. They're setting a stage for a sustainable plan moving forward, and be speaking to the National Association of Regional Council and other national entities that requested the talk. So I think work is moving good. There is obviously going to be a lot of analysis and data coming up to be done in the next few months, and I'll be happy to come to this committee to inform them. Finally, I want you to know that our priorities, the Mid-Coast Trolley Project, the largest infrastructure project in the country, in San Diego history, $2.1 billion, is on schedule, on budget, and geared to open next November. Couldn't be more pleased for such a huge project to be on time, on budget. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, hearing none. The next item is the update on the Office of the Independent Performance Auditor activities from Mary.
Chair, if we could offer public comments first before we move on.
I thought you said there were no public comments.
Just in case people raise their hands.
Are there any public comments on the Executive Director's report?
No, there are not.
Okay, are there any public comments on the, you're saying we have to do that after they talk?
Yes. Well, that's typically how we do it, but
okay, fine.
I think it's your discretion.
Okay, number 4, update on the Office of the Independent Performance Auditor activities from Mary. Go ahead, Mary.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Audit Committee members. Again, just to quickly get through this at the request of the Chair, just wanted to provide a brief update on what is going on in our office. We are closing out the compensation audit, working with Hassan on getting that finalized with the corrective action plan. Once they finalize the corrective action plan, we will schedule a quarterly review of that plan to ensure that they're keeping up on their commitments. We're doing our QC right now on our audit and closing that out. We're getting ready to move into our next audit, which will be contracts audit. Before we do that, however, we have a lot of housekeeping that needs to be done, including required CPE training and getting our interns kind of caught up. They learned the hard way, I would say, but in somewhat that's a benefit, that they were able to see an audit from the inside out, and every possible thing that could happen did happen. And so they got to experience that, which is a good thing for them. But now we need to kind of step back and allow them to kind of step into it like we had hoped they would from the get-go. And like I said, get our training done and our housekeeping, some housekeeping done. So we'll be planning on jumping in, though we've done a little bit already, to the contracts audit. The contracts audit, as you can imagine, again, it not being thoroughly audited from an internal perspective for the last about 20 years, we're going to have a huge task on our hands. And it's a large audit anyways. I mean, Sandag has a lot of consultants and a lot of contractors, and both services and construction. So it's going to be quite a big audit. With that, I've been speaking with my staff, and we're thinking that only having a limited source of staff, only 2 staff members and 2 interns, that we would break this audit really into 3 parts. I think that this would also make it more pleasing for the board and for the public to absorb. So we're really considering breaking it into 3 parts. One part being first the internal control review of it. The second part would be the compliance of rules, regulations, and policies of it. And then the third part of it would be testing of consultants, invoicing, billing, the appropriateness of documentation. So I think that would be a good way to handle such a huge project. So if we start the audit in January, we would probably look at the first report around internal controls coming out in around April. And then we'll move into the next phase and so on. In addition to that, I wanted to give an update on the mandate. Sadly, the mandate did not get funded, did not pass. We do have the option to appeal that, which often happens a lot. There's a lot of times the first time around it gets denied and then you appeal, but honestly, we don't have the resources to continue to appeal it. And it looks like the state is not going to have the money to even fund it. So that is something that we will come back then at a later date soon here and discuss. The positions, both the board and the committee agreed that we needed additional 7 positions. So we're going to be coming back to look for funding for at least 2 more positions to get us more resources, which is desperately needed really for this size of an organization with this size of a budget. So with that, I have no further updates. Oh, the risk assessment, sorry, real quick. The risk assessment will be coming probably to the audit committee as a finalized document in December. I've kind of reorganized the report a bit. I've determined that I'm gonna probably in the next week or so share that with management and also the Sandag's risk manager to work with them directly, and then also get some input from the audit committee members and bring that forward as a report, a finished report in December's meeting, I'm hoping. And then also work jointly, and I think this is the most beneficial way to go about this, jointly with the risk manager to come up with a risk matrix. Audit risk has already been defined and set, but a risk matrix for management to kind of participate and help develop with me, since it's their risk. And they know their risk tolerance and mitigation. So I think working jointly with the risk manager around that project would be a really good kind of shared event for both from an audit perspective as well as from a management perspective. And I think that that would be the most proactive way to manage this from this point forward. With that, I will be glad to answer any questions.
Mary, from a scheduling point of view, the first phase of the contract audit in April, that means audit committee April? Is that what you're,
I think we will have the report So probably May, probably audit committee, because we want to be able to give the report to management, allow them to respond to the report, and then it would come to the audit committee. I also intend
phase
to.
That's phase 1 of 3, right?
Yes,
okay.
that's
okay,
correct.
got it. Second question on, you mentioned December meeting. Amber Lynn, do we have on currently scheduled a December meeting? I looked it up. I thought we didn't. We can schedule one, but do we have an audit committee meeting in December scheduled, Amber Lynn?
I believe that the audit committee has a standing meeting for December, but it certainly would have the option to reschedule or set an additional meeting if needed.
Wait, do we currently have one scheduled for December?
There is not currently one on the Sandag calendar.
Okay, right now there's not one on the calendar, correct? Francesca?
Correct.
Okay, so Mary, if we can talk about this next month, but if we need to schedule a meeting in December, we're going to have to docket that because right now there isn't one.
And with that being said, Bill, we can actually have it in January. The important thing is that management will have the report in November, and the audit committee, some of the members will also be able to, as a subcommittee, view that risk assessment, and we can begin to work on that matrix. And if it comes in January, maybe we can have that matrix to come along with it by then as well.
Okay, let's. For the November meeting, if Lloyd is listening, just put on the docket discussion of whether to schedule December meeting. We may need to accommodate some of the things Stuart raised. If not, maybe we'll have a holiday off. So, okay, we'll figure that out.
Paul, you had a question?
Yeah, Bill, can I take a question?
Sure, go ahead.
This goes to Mary Kay. When you mentioned phase 1, and that's what I was focused on as well, it's going to deal with regulations, and so the light went on. I'm thinking about your budget and whether our committee can be of help to you, and I heard Hassan earlier talk about having an administrative budget to hire a lawyer. Based on the first report, my thought was it would be less expensive and better for everyone involved to make sure that you had adequate legal bench strength to assist the OIPA staff in interpreting and identifying the regulations. Do you feel you have that resource now? And if not, can we be of help to you in getting that?
Yeah, Paul, let me just make a few clarifications. First off, the first phase will be the internal control review, which is typically what you look at first in an audit is internal controls. The second phase will be around compliance, rules, and regulations. And really, if we need an attorney, having one on staff and on board would definitely be helpful and useful, of course. And I know that's something that we have talked about needing anyways. But if it's not needed, it's not necessarily needed, just like in this case, we agreed with the attorneys. So it's not necessarily needed. Where we will look for guidance around should they be following a regulation or not is actually the actual oversight agency itself. And those are auditors and attorneys that actually make sure that we as an agency are adhering to a law. So those are who I would be seeking that direction from. But if we needed an attorney, I think it's definitely important based on what we just went through that we do have that available and readily available for us for any case in any manner.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on. Comment, maybe in January we bring this subject back again and put that on the docket.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment on this?
Sure.
And thank you, Mary, and thank you, Mr. Dustart. So just to be clear, we had this discussion at the audit committee before, and I said, we'll seek to find budget for the audit committee if they choose to have legal representation. Having said that, I would not recommend that the agency have, a legal representation for the agency, which is right now John Kirk and his staff, Amberlin and others, and another attorney. That would be very confusing. I think we're one team. We have one goal here to make Sandag better. I think Mary would agree that's the goal. Now, if you as an audit committee get to a point, like Mary said, you needed to look at certain things, I'll be happy to work with Mary and make sure there's budget available. But I am not, under any circumstance, going to recommend we have competing legal opinions. And as I know, right now, let me tell you something that's I'm equally uncomfortable with regarding lawyers. The direction to me from the board was to prepare an action plan, and we did, and we're working with Mary and her staff, but also to hire another legal review and find another 80,000 in a time when I'm freezing the hiring and laid off 50 people. Well, not laid off, but reduced 50 positions. That's crazy. And so I want to follow the board direction, but as a staff, I would recommend strongly against having two competing lawyers in one agency. But I'm always offering you, like we did before, when you wanted to hire a legal review, if you wanted one, you have one. And secondly, I think Mary agrees with me on this one. I don't know what another legal review would do. I mean, Mary agrees with the first legal review, so what? We just need, putting $80,000 of public funds to do the same thing is not the right thing to do. So
Hassan,
yes.
I'm agreeing with you. My concern was that we paid more last time because we had to do it after the fact.
Right.
And if we can coordinate so Mary Kay has that resource up front.
The audit committee will have that resource up front, and that's what I promised you last time. So if the audit committee want to find a firm that they could tap into anytime, fine, but not a lawyer for Mary and a lawyer for me, and we have one agency. And
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I think we would save money by dealing with it up front. Thank you very much.
I'll work with you, and I'll find hopefully find the budget. Right now, budget is really, but we'll find something. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move this discussion till not January, later. It's sometime in the spring when we need it. Okay, meaning we'll dock at this discussion, but my understanding, if you listen to everybody, it's not a crisis right now.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions for Mary?
Yeah, I have one question, if I could.
Is that Bob? I can't see you.
That's Stuart.
Go ahead, Stuart.
So Mary, with reference to the action plan, and maybe this is Mary or Hassan, whomever, is the intent that the action plan will have milestones with their own sort of intermediate target dates, so that you referenced a quarterly report of review. So as opposed to the review saying this was done, that was done, what have you, that there'll actually be clarity as to where there are sort of component deadlines of milestones that we can really have a better arms around where things stand, as opposed to just talking about activities, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, Stuart, and I'll let Hassan, we did make that recommendation, and I believe Hassan is following that. So I'll let Hassan share the detail. I haven't seen the detail, but that was a recommendation, is that of course there are milestones with dates, the who, what, when, and where sort of it. So we are able to then audit to determine if they're keeping to their commitment. So Hassan, if you want to add.
No, I think you captured it well, Mary Kay. I think that's exactly what we need. And look, I said this before, I have the same goal as all of you, and that is to have better controls, better process. I told this to Mary several times. So yes, I want to make sure that this followed through and make sure that we get to where we said we're going to do. And again, I mean, we're working collaboratively. Hopefully you will be pleased with the action plan. And but no, I had nothing to add to what Mary said.
Thank you. Very helpful. Appreciate it.
Okay, if that's all, thank you, Mary. Item number 5 is the request to move the November 20th meeting to November 13th. We've all referenced that. We felt like we had to get that done to stay on track with this performance review. If there's no debate on this, I'll entertain a motion to move the November 20th audit committee meeting to November 13th.
I'll second.
I'll count that as a first. Bob makes the motion.
Okay. I thought Paul raised his hand first. So.
All right, I didn't see. Okay, Paul makes the motion. Bob seconds it. Okay. That's all right. Okay. Zoom. Okay, let's do the vote.
Thank you. For the City of La Mesa, Chair Baber.
Yes.
For the City of El Cajon, Vice Chair Wells.
Yes.
Thank you. And Paul Distart,
Yes.
Stuart Halpern.
Yes.
Thank you. And Bob Monson.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes unanimously.
Okay. The next item is closed session. Where is our closed session team here? So am I correct? Tell me if I'm wrong here. This, for the public, this stays on.
Correct.
There's a separate login for the closed session for the 5 of us. And then when that ends, I come back here, okay? Does everybody, Bill, Paul, Stuart, Bob, do you all have the login to the closed session?
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
good?
Yes.
Okay, so then,
Bill, I don't think I have the login for the closed session, unfortunately.
Francesca, can you get it to Mayor Wells?
Yes, I can. I will email it to Mayor Wells now.
Can you send it to my Yahoo address?
Yes, I will.
Thanks.
Okay, and then, James, this computer literally stays on? Okay, then we'll reconvene in closed session in about 5 minutes when everybody gets technically set up, okay? Okay, thank you, Bob. That adjourns the audit committee meeting.